Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
No breaks. No breaks. No fear. No fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Well, throw another shrimp on the barbie. What a week it's been for the weather, and what an episode we've got for you today, which accidentally has turned out to be a bit of an Australia fest. Our special guest is Josh Pickering, and a few of his mates are going to be appearing as well. Not least Jason Doyle, who helped the Ipswich Witches race to a third triumph on the trot in the Premiership Pairs at Wolves on Monday.
Yeah, we had the last laugh. Luckily we could do that. I know they would have been laughing if it went the other way, but it's the Speedway, and it was a nice night after how hot it was.
Keep listening to find out why Jason Doyle gives Josh Pickering a fuzzy feeling. Also, we get an update from Sam Masters on his injury situation.
I got a broken bone in my foot. I said, well, what can I do? He said, rest or operation, but you're going to be out for 6 weeks either way. And I thought, well, I can't do either of them, so I'm just going to have to cop it on the chin, really.
So much more from the Premiership Pairs and reaction to the Premiership meetings over the last week, and a look ahead to what's in store over the coming days as well. And in our third part of the show, the spotlight firmly on the Championship. We'll hear from the Glasgow boss, Cammy Brown, Eric Riss, Jai Etheridge, Jonas Knudsen, and much more, all to come on this week's episode of No Breaks, No Fear.
No breaks, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
So it's another jam-packed episode, and to help us work our way through it, I'm joined by someone who's really been exciting crowds across British Speedway, both in the Premiership and in the Championship. A rider for both the Kings Lynn Stars and the Edinburgh Monarchs. Josh Pickering is with us. Hiya, Josh.
How are we, guys?
We're good, yeah. How are you doing with this weather? This must be like, is this warmer than being in Oz, or is this about what you would get in your
this is
summer?
exactly what we need. I think it's definitely making it feel like I'm at home. So, it was a hot one yesterday at Wolverhampton, but I've enjoyed the weather today, that's for sure.
Yeah, I guess you guys, you're all a bit more geared up for it, aren't you? You know, you got aircon and stuff in your houses. That's the thing here. We don't have that, and that's why we're all hot.
I've raced out and I've bought myself a couple of tall standing fans, so it's definitely helping sleep at night, that's for sure.
Let's talk about your season in general first. You made the move up to, captain at Kings Lynn, moving from Sheffield in the Premiership, and of course continuing with Edinburgh as well. How's your season gone so far for you, do you think?
So far, on a personal level, mate, I'm happy with how things are ticking along. Obviously, at times throughout the season, there's been little mistakes I've made. It's just normal, and we're only human, I suppose. But in a whole, I am happy with how my performance are going for Kings Lynn, for Edinburgh, and also abroad in Poland. So I'm just, like I said, I'm happy just to be injury free and enjoy me racing.
People like to be entertained, don't they? And of course they do. And I think that they're realising now that when you're on the track, that you're not going to give up in a race. You're going to give 100%, and that's what people love. Yeah,
well, to be honest, there's no really races that I'm in that aren't exciting. It's either, I've in the past I haven't been known for my gating, of course, but it's something I have worked on. But even if I'm into the corner with all four and don't really get stuffed up in the first turn, I can sort of make my way through one or two passes, and sometimes I can win the race, or others I can follow up with a second. But Speedway in itself, mate, it's not always, obviously the team's point of view, we need to score points and win races as much as possible, but no team or no fans wants to go and watch a team that wins 60-30 every week and just gets hammered. So they do enjoy seeing a bit of excitement, and I feel that what I bring to the sport in a way, I'm starting to open a few people's eyes up, I can say.
the Grand Prix series, those kind of championships, are those the kind of things that you're ultimately aiming at in your career? Because, of course, the Australian qualification works a bit differently from the Europeans and from the Brits, but where's your mind at there for the future? What's the
definitely,
ambition?
mate. I'd love to be racing the Grand Prix. It is something I've always looked up to and looked forward to, but it's always been a bit out of my reach and not really known the path to get there. But now I'm sort of an established rider in the UK. I've got sort of my grounds of where I am and where I'm going to be, mentally, even just on a day-to-day basis type thing. But now that's moved to seasons and so on and so forth. So I know what's expected. I know what has to happen for me to make the Grand Prix. Obviously, you need to race the Australian Championships and get in the top 4, but that in itself, mate, is very tough to do. So we'll just keep things going. It is the end future goal, and I will get there one day, but Rome wasn't built overnight, so I'm not planning on getting in there early, because you know what? Sometimes what comes easy doesn't last, and what lasts don't come easy. So I'll just continue doing what I'm doing, and eventually I'll get to where I want to be.
Well, let's start by looking at some action then from this past week. And we'll begin with a meeting that you were involved in, the Premiership Pairs on Monday night at Wolverhampton's Monmore Stadium. And it was Ipswich who completed a hat-trick of Premiership Pairs wins and now lead the series by 12 points with 2 rounds remaining. The Witches defeated Bellevue in the final at Monmore, with both of their nearest challengers, Lynn and Sheffield, failing to make the closing stages. Their semi-final against the hosts was resolved when Wolves' Nick Morris fell on the second lap, whilst in the final, Jason Doyle and Troy Batchelor got the better of Bellevue's Max Frick and Brady Kurtz, with Frick having raced to a 20-point maximum in the qualifiers. We'll hear from Jason Doyle in just a moment, but first to you, Josh, and the Kings Lynn Stars. How did it go for you?
Yeah, well, every sort of race, there was a couple of times there, I think we were at heat 1, then heat 4, and then we had a bit of a break, then I was out heat 9, 11, and 14. So I seen, before 8 and things like that, and then I seen heat 12 and 13, but it was a little bit hard to watch a bit of the racing last night. Obviously, it was so hot, and Wolverhampton isn't a track that I've actually had the chance to race at. Obviously, when Kings Lynn went there earlier in the year, I did do my first 2 rides, but I was really ill and I had to pull out of the meeting. So I didn't really learn anything. I didn't learn anything to do with my bike, to the way the track rode. So for me, it was just going there to learn something new for today. And obviously, as the night was going on, I was changing the setups. But every single bit of racing I did see, mate, it was definitely exciting, and there was a lot of passing going on from what I've seen in some of the races. So as a neutral, as you said, for the sport, you couldn't ask for much more.
Yeah, it was definitely exciting to watch, and probably the best round so far. But we've still got 2 big rounds left, and Ipswich leading the way. They've now got a 12-point lead, with Jason Doyle and Troy Batchelor doing the business for them once again on Monday night, and Sheffield and Bellevue still to come. It's going to be quite a challenge, really, for anybody to really stake a claim to that title if they keep going the way they are.
Yeah, definitely. It's considering their first round at Peterborough, I think they got 5th, to then go 3 wins on the trot. You can't take any credit away for them. But in saying that, also, like Doyle, they're out and out number 1. Like he's just unbelievable, So he's scored heavily every single place they have been, and it's got him in a semi-final position. But obviously, he's also backed him up as well. So you've got to give him credit at stages throughout the night. But they definitely were the better team last night, and they deserved to win. But for our point of view, we're going to Sheffield. It's a track I obviously learnt last year. By then, obviously as well, like Richard, he's gone good there in the past. It's probably a track that he likes as well. So we're going there with every intention to try and to win it again. And if Sheffield, for example, don't have the best night and we do have a good night, and also Ipswich, we sort of want Bellevue to be up there with us, I suppose. But at the end of the day, as long as we can continue going for a podium spot, then that would be handy. Obviously, we won Peterborough. I think we got third at, where were we? Second.
It was Peterborough,
Ipswich. We just missed out on the semis there by 1 point. Yeah. And then at Kings Lynn, we ended up third. Again, just narrowly missed out. It was a bit of a shame, but it's the way things are. And then, we had last night, again, I think we missed out on 3 points for the semis. So we're there or thereabouts. We're not completely out of it. It's just a couple of little races we've got to work on and just make sure there's no last places in this pairs tournament.
Well, let's hear from the man that did most of the damage for the Ipswich Witches on Monday night in the Premiership Pairs at Wolverhampton. Jason Doyle is speaking with Ryan Guest.
Well, yeah, first and foremost, Doyle, obviously 3 wins on the trot now. Certainly got this competition clicked in.
Yeah, we stepped it up after Peterborough. We knew how hard it was going to be with the points, I guess. All teams are so equal, and the last couple of rounds we've had, we needed to really just not pull your finger out really and then start scoring some points. But yeah, it was great to have Batch on form tonight. He's picked up his game the last couple of meetings, and it was just it was nice to get out in front and see 2 Ipswich boys in the final out in front, and just made it easy.
Yeah, we certainly had a bit of a banter with the crowd as well, but he had the last laugh in the end.
Yeah, like Troy said, when things go wrong, you don't need to be booing when you break down. You obviously got emotions so high, and you need to try to calm it down. But when there's guys in the crowd sticking their fingers up, obviously Troy's going to bite and give it back. So yeah, we had the last laugh. Luckily, we could do that. I know they would have been laughing if it went the other way, but it's the Speedway, and it was a nice night after how hot it was.
Yeah, from the team point of view, obviously it was an important win over Bellevue. Must have been nice not to have a last heat decider last week.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the biggest score we've had for a home win for the whole season. So it was nice to, yeah, like you said, know her last heat decider and no super heat. So I think the team we've got, when we're maybe not the strongest on paper, but I think we work as a team, not just the riders, but the mechanics are all helping each other out, which is a massive part of why we're winning so much. Yeah,
and for yourself, it must have been nice in one sense not to have the pressure on you going into a Heat 15 as well, and able to sit with that one out.
Yeah, well, I wasn't feeling the best on Thursday, so it was nice to be able to be in that situation and not have to ride in Heat 15. And yeah, they done the job, and we done a really nice score in the end, so it was a good ending.
Yeah, and just very finally, obviously Sheffield this Thursday, they've already come to Foxhall and won, but like you say, the belief certainly with the Witches, the way things have been going in recent weeks.
Yeah, I think when they come last, there was a few riders missing. At the moment, Daniel is doing really well in reserve. It's actually a light at the end of the tunnel with him coming into the team. It's since he took over the other rider, it just ended up everything's clicking, everyone's getting along well, and it's actually a great move for Ipswich to have him in the team. We're all gelling together, and hopefully we can keep going right to the end.
Doyle, many thanks for speaking to us.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, Jason Doyle there of the Ipswich Witches, who make it 3 wins on the bounce in the Premiership Pairs competition. Josh Pickering is with us, and he was involved in that meeting. And Josh, you've ridden every round for Kings Lynn. No changes really to your side apart from at reserve, with yourself and Richard Lawson representing Kings Lynn in each round. Have you really missed the out-and-out number one? You know, that we look at the other sides in the Premiership Pairs competition, and they've all had a bit of rotation around. Bellevue have done it, and of course Ipswich have done it to an extent as well, whilst Doyley's been an ever-present. But missing out on Niels Christian Iversen and not having him, or a rider like that in your side, an out-and-out number one, someone with Grand Prix experience, if you will, is that something that perhaps has cost Kings Lynn slightly?
Yeah, to a point. I think what it is just not having an option. Obviously, at the moment, it's been me and Richard the whole way through. It has been a bit tough for us, there's no doubt about that. In saying that, we've also stepped up, and we were the underdogs at Peterborough. We were written off by all the bookies, and we done our job. So we're riding against people that it's not new to us. We've raced against all of them in the past, and I'm liking the challenge really. And to be honest, I'm sort of liking going under the radar a little bit. So there's any race that we can potentially pop out and win, and that's that's proven. But the consistency side of things, that is where we are lacking, I feel. But at the same time, how you mentioned we're missing that out-and-out number one. Despite just the pairs competition, if we had that in league form, mate, that would have our season completely turned around also, because as you can see, we've done the last 3 matches, I think, at rider replacement, and it's been tough for us. We have struggled, and we suffered heavily at Bellevue, and look, it's been tough. There's no dancing around that. But when we versed Wolverhampton the other night at home, and they didn't have their number one also, it was a level playing field then. And then it just goes to show you how strong our 6 are when we aren't relying on that extra person, because when they've tried to, Wolverhampton, they're a strong outfit. You've got Nick Morris, Ryan Douglas, Stevie Worrell. Like, there's nothing to be, they're no slouches. So considering that we done them by 20 at home, it just goes to show you that if we did have that number one to take that pressure off and get even 8 to 11 points for that meeting, it's near a 20-point swing in the whole match, So the other night at Kings Lynn, I think we got 10 plus 1 from Niels' rides, and that's the first time we've scored double figures from his rider replacement rides since we've been doing rider replacement. At Peterborough, we got 3 plus 1. At Bellevue, we got 4 plus 1. Like, it's not acceptable, and it's not doable, and we can't win with them type of scores,
Yeah, sure. And looking back at that match against Wolves, you moved off the bottom of the Premiership with that performance to beat Wolverhampton. 55-35 is not to be sniffed at. Still an impressive performance. Richard Lawson really coming up trumps as well in that meeting. Thomas Jorgensen was great at reserve. It was his 30th birthday and he cashed in with 14 plus 3, which was a nice little gift. Nick Morris and Ryan Douglas doing the damage for Wolves. A hard side to beat, and they're the side that you're facing up to again next, and it'll be in front of the TV cameras.
Yeah, well, look, I'm all up for it. It's as simple as that. We've just beat them, so there's no reason why we can't go and do it again. I've never had the chance to race at Wolves, obviously, prior to illness before. Last night, for me, going into that event, obviously we'll try and take... Our main goal for Monday night was no last places, make sure we can get at least second and third, wins a bonus, and we can just make our way through the night doing that. I was just trying to learn the track, learn to what I've got to do, and then depends where we're going to be at the end of the night. Obviously, it would have been a bonus to be at the pointy end. However, league is more important to me as a whole, and obviously we're there next Monday. So for me, my mentality was a little bit different for last night. So it was probably easier for me to concentrate on what I had to do, because I was more just worried about learning to go around and attract the track more than anything else, So I didn't psych myself out. I was going there with a good attitude, and again, on an individual type thing, I was happy with the way I rode. There was a few little mistakes I'd done, but they're easy fixes, and I proved that in the last race when I got things sorted. So I'm looking forward to go back there on Monday night, and I genuinely feel that we could upset them, So that's the main focus.
Yeah, and really for the sides like yourself and Peterborough, you are the ones that can upset the apple cart, because the top 4 may be starting to feel that they're moving away from those sides below them, but that's not the case mathematically, is it? And a win at a place like Wolves would be a huge shot across the bows of those teams.
Absolutely, above. And there is still plenty of meetings to race for. Again, Alex has mentioned to you that we're trying to strengthen up, and it's tough to get Niels back, but a replacement for him, that looks to be happening in the near future. Obviously, I'm not going to make any more comment on that until that time comes. However, making this change will definitely strengthen us up a lot, and it will be giving us something that we have been missing. So I'm looking forward to that, and we'll just have to wait and see how things come. But I genuinely think with the tracks that we have left, we've obviously got to go to Wolves again. We've got to go to Ipswich again. We have Ipswich at home. We go to Bellevue. We go to Sheffield. All these tracks I like. So as long as all our boys can go there with a similar attitude, then I feel like we could, turn our season around as such.
Well, I think because obviously the season itself starts early with other competitions. As for the Premiership itself, the league, just a little over halfway through the season. So there's a long way to go with the Premiership itself yet.
Yeah, definitely. And like, for example, where we are right now in the league, there's no reason why Bellevue can't be in a similar position, for the back half. Like Bellevue and Ipswich, they are leading the standings. However, we've had a bit of bad luck, and obviously if we didn't lose Niels, a month or 5 weeks ago, whenever it was, things could have been a lot different. Obviously you're seeing at the start of the year when we're doing the cup or knockout cup, whatever it was, we topped that type thing, and obviously we're up against Sheffield for the final. But it goes to show you, out of the 6 teams, we're strong. So it will be good for us to get another rider back to help out that and carry the load a little bit better. But at the same time, like, Speedway's a funny sport, mate, and there's injuries play a lot in this sport. Riders being able to make every round play a lot in this sport. And again, on the night, consistency. It's been a busy year, obviously, for me. I'm racing 3 leagues. There's a lot of riders that are racing 2 to 3 leagues, and there's a lot of travelling that gets taken on. You get to this time of the season, people are getting tired and sometimes aren't riding at their best ability. So this is when things can really turn around for a team like Kings Lynn, and I feel that if we go out there and we all have good intentions and all have good opening rides and everyone's in a good state of mind and ready to go, then there's no reason why we can't continue through the meeting like that.
Just a quick look at some of the other fixtures that happened last Thursday, because all 6 sides were in action at the same time, which certainly doesn't help getting guests in at number 1 either, does it? Ipswich returned to the top of the Premiership with a 50-40 home win over the previous leaders, Bellevue, which is securing victory, the 5-1 from Jason Doyle and Troy Batchelor in Heat 13. For once, Ipswich not going down to a last heat decider. But at the top of the table, it is getting pretty interesting, isn't it? Ipswich and Bellevue alternating places, and then you've got Sheffield, who have got a few matches in hand as well. So I don't know how you think things are panning out up at the top, and certainly the Aussie contingent are representing firmly in those sides as well.
Yeah, mate, there is quite a few Australians, and out of the start of the year, I think 5 out of the 6 teams, all the number 1s were Aussie. So that's pretty crazy when this is the Premiership and this is the elite in the UK. So for me to be a part of that now, it's awesome, and to also go into races knowing who the rider is and growing up either racing with them or watching them race, because I'm a little bit younger than the majority of them. I know how they are, and we have that sense of respect on the track where we'll show our front wheel, but we'll never drive through someone or cut someone off, and it's just good, hard, fair racing, and I'm just enjoying Speedway in a whole. It's right now I'm exactly where I've wanted to be for the last 5 years, I suppose. I've always wanted to be racing in Poland. I've always wanted to be doing the Elite League in England, and I'm finally getting these opportunities. I feel like I've worked hard to deserve, and I'm happy. I'm in a good place at the moment, and I'm just really enjoying myself. So again, we're just going to have to continue on and keep moving forward.
And that is the voice of the Kings Lynn Stars captain, Josh Pickering, on this week's episode of No Breaks, No Fear. More from Josh, much more to come, and more reaction from some of the Premiership meetings over the last week as well, including the matches that took place last Thursday. And we'll hear Simon Stead's thoughts after Sheffield's match against Peterborough, which was a bit of an unusual one. Find out why very soon. And we'll also hear from Richie Hawkins after Ipswich's clash with Bellevue. All on the way in part 2 of No Breaks, No Fear.
No Breaks, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome back. I'm Ian Brannan. My special guest in this episode is the Kings Lynn Stars captain and, of course, of the Edinburgh Monarchs, Josh Pickering, with us. And there's a lot of interviews to bring you as well still. Later on, we'll be focusing on the championship in part 3. And we've got conversations in that section with Cammy Brown, Eric Riss, Jai Etheridge, Jonas Knudsen, and one or two more as well. So that's all in part 3. But we're going to continue looking at the Premiership and chatting with Josh because there's lots to chat about. And here's a little question for you. Explain this to us. When we had Alex Brady on, he said that you, of all people, keep tabs of who you've beaten, and particularly among your fellow Australians over here in Great Britain. Obviously you're really good friends off the track. I know that you all hang out together and go for lunch and help each other out. But is that something you do? Have you got a little side book of who you've beaten through the course of the season, and how does that all work?
No, yes and no. Like, it's obviously we don't want to go out and get beat by each other. It's just racing, and it's just, I suppose it's the Australian way. No one wants to put their head down and get done by their mate. But I don't keep count or keep track, but I do know who I beat, and I do know where I beat them, and that's what, it's easy for me to go into every other race confident, is knowing that every single person in this league, I've already beat them once or twice before, so there's no reason why I can't do it again. But as keeping a tally and, you know, a little league within ourselves, I don't have that as such, but I do have a very good memory, and I know when riders have beat me in the past and they shouldn't have. So, yeah, like I'd much rather, like, even, for example, Doyle, he's someone I've looked up to for a very long time, and when I beat him, that actually means more to me than beating anyone else in this league. Like, I don't really care about beating anyone else, as in, I'm going into every race wanting to win, but it's like you get that warm little fuzzy feeling in your stomach, like, yeah, wow, like, this is surreal. It actually happened, you know. So that's the only sort of thing that I have, I can suppose, make comment on an individual rider itself, is that warm fuzzy feeling you get, mate, when you're proud of yourself for doing something that you've worked hard to do. And realistically, the only person I get that from is when I do beat Doyle. So I suppose he could be the one.
People do say that, don't they, that a good proportion of winning a speedway race is the mental side of it. And so for you to know that you're capable of doing it because you have done it, and you know when you did it, that must give you a bit of a boost, and probably part of the reason why you are winning so many races.
Yeah, well, I think the only person from memory, I'd have to have a proper think about it, but I'm 99% certain, is that the only person I actually haven't beat in this league is Tobias Muesliak, and I've only raced him once. So, and he beat me at Kings Lynn. So that's obviously in my mind, and I will tick him off one day in the near distant future. But for now, everyone else, it's mission accomplished in a certain such. So I can just go into every race feeling confident, knowing that I can do it. So yeah, it's just quite that simple. And then another way of looking at it, as we just said about a mental game, if a rider like Tobias Muesliak, I may have not beat him yet, but a lot of riders that have beat him, I've beat them. So to me, everyone's beatable, and there's not one person that I'm lined up to on the line now there where I think to myself, I've got such and such in the race. Like, I don't care about that. I just more care about after I do win, then it's a good feeling.
As an ambition, I suppose, then, obviously, Doyle aside, who would be the rider that you would really love to sort of tick off in your mental list, maybe, that if you got the chance?
One day, obviously, when I do, eventually make it into extra league and do all the things that I do want to do abroad, like beating the likes of Magic Janoski, Bartosz Marslik, Patrick Dudek, Wolfie, like all these riders, you would get that same fuzzy feeling that I get from beating Doyle. I feel like they would feel that same type of fulfillment, I suppose, of beating someone like that, because they're all guys I have looked up to in the past. I love sitting down Saturday night and watching the Grand Prix, and just as much as anyone. So the pure fact of that, if I'm racing against them guys and then beating them, it's it's cool, mate. So I just appreciate that in a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're beating them, then you're in the right place, aren't you, as well? I've got to say.
Exactly. So, like, you look at Max Frick, he's a good friend of mine, but I've beat him a fair few times this year. He's beat me a few times as well, but he also won Warsaw Grand Prix and beat everyone. So that's what I was saying to you before about the mental side of things, is that I've already beaten riders that's beaten other riders. So to be honest, I'm already in that. I class myself to be as one of them riders also now. So, you know, to an extent, there's just going into every race is knowing that I can potentially win it. So that's actually a nice feeling to have now, because a couple of years ago I used to go into every race thinking, oh, I've got this guy and he's doing this, and I've got this guy, and you know, you can work yourself up, and just something I've learned to overcome. And now for me it's another time to let the clutch out and just another 4 laps to do. So I'll just make the most of it.
Let's get a couple more interviews in. Ipswich, as we mentioned earlier, returning to the top of the Premiership. 50-40 home win over previous leaders Bellevue. A big day for the Witches, who keep that march going on all fronts, really, in the Premiership Speedway, both with the pairs and, of course, in the league as well. Let's hear from Richie Hawkins, the Ipswich team manager, after that win against Bellevue with Ryan Guest.
Well, Richie, with the way the Premiership standings have been going, when you looked at the form of the two sides going into Thursday, it was always going to be a good meeting, but always good to get a good, strong win over Bellevue. Yeah,
it was a good performance at home. Not perfect, but we was obviously to beat Bellevue, an informed side and at the top of the table clash. So that was great to get the win and stop them getting a point as well, I guess, and go back top is obviously the boys are, we sort of keep, when we're riding we're going top, and then if we miss a meeting we kind of go to second. But it was nice to get back to the top of the league.
Yeah, got off to a real strong start as well. I think you were 10 points up after 3 races, something like that. We have seen that a couple of occasions at Vauxhall this season, but then the visitors have clawed back. So from a team manager's point of view, it must have been nice to see the boys hold on to that one this time. Yeah,
we have started meetings well, and people have come back into it, or we've kind of slipped up and let teams back into the meeting. So we kind of held it steady. We dealt with the tack serb, and Max was obviously riding really well, so he got an RR as well. But I think we kind of coped with that quite well. And to still end up winning by 10 is obviously a great result.
Yeah, totally lost count of the number of last heat deciders you've had, particularly at the Vauxhall since the league programme got underway. So must have been nice going into that one with the pressure off and not having to rely on Doyle as well, leaving him out in heat 15.
I mean, it was very good. I think every meeting we've gone down to heat 15. So it was obviously nice for us to perform, but I thought we didn't ride very well. The previous home match against Peterborough wasn't a great performance, and we kind of snuck the win with that golden heat. But to perform better, and then going into heat 15, it was nice to have a bit of a choice. It was nice to have all 3 of them going well on the same night, kind of thing. Like, it was good to see Troy have such a great night, and I thought Danny's improved massively over the last month. So to have a choice of 3 heat leaders, whereas before it's kind of been Doyle and whoever on the night was actually going well. So it was nice to have a bit of a choice, to be fair. And I thought obviously Doyle Batch was superb in heat 15, and then Danny made a mistake, but it was good to see him in that position.
Yeah, you mentioned Batch there. He hasn't been overly happy with his overall form so far this season. He's constantly working on things in the background as well, but to see him ride how he did last Thursday against Bellevue, that's kind of the form when he was one of the top riders in this league.
Yeah, it was brilliant. He just clicked into gear, and he kind of he definitely looked like a GP rider. He was brilliant. So we've seen flashes of it, and Batch has had good meetings, and he's had good nights and good races, and done some important stuff for us. So the average we've signed Batch on is still, you're not going to get anyone else on a 5.5 point average that's capable of being a solid and a very good number 5 and doing that job. It's not going to happen. So it's, when he performs like that, it's obviously a massive bonus to the team, and delight to see, because if he can do that more often, obviously that makes us very strong.
Yeah, and this coming Thursday, it's a second visit to the season for Sheffield. Obviously, they've already been to Vauxhall and shown what they're capable of around there once.
Yeah. I mean, when Sheffield come earlier on in the year, I think we're probably a lot better side now than we was then. I think we're obviously racing a lot better. We started that night great in the first couple of heats, but then, to be honest, for the rest of the night we were pretty poor. So, and obviously they managed to win. So, we feel a lot more confident going into this meeting. I think we're in a lot better form and a lot better position. So, we've improved nicely over the season, and we'll need to keep doing that if we want to be there at the end.
Richie, thanks for speaking to us as always.
No worries, man.
And there is Richie Hawkins with Ryan Guest. The other meeting that happened on Thursday night was at Overton Stadium. Jack Holder bagged his first maximum of the season as Sheffield beat Peterborough 51-39. An identical outcome to the previous meeting between the sides in the Steel City this season, with Holder's 12 points from 4 rides backed up by 12 from 5 for Adam Ellis and 8+3 bonus points from the skipper Kyle Howarth. Ulrich Ostergaard got 10+1, Chris Harris with 10, reaching double figures for a Panthers side in a meeting which was delayed due to issues with the switch panel in the referee's box, meaning races ended up being started on the green light. The visitors also lost Hans Andersen with a dislocated shoulder after a fall in his second ride. Let's hear from the Sheffield team manager Simon Stead with Ryan Guest.
Well, Steady, first things first, job done, a 12-point victory over Peterborough. Unbeaten record continues here, and 3 more points to tally.
Yeah, I think it was a great team performance. When you look down the sort of score chart, everybody did a good job. Great to see Jack firing on all cylinders. It's a great sight to behold round here. Adam as well. He's made a couple of changes with his machinery, and he seems to be firing again. Looks like they've got some speed, which is nice. So making progress in those departments, and also I think the lineup looked pretty good. Looking at every heat, and I'm thinking we look, for some reason I just feel like we look a little bit more solid than we perhaps did before. So all in all, very pleased. Points on the board, good win over Peterborough. Job done tonight. Looking forward to the next one.
So is that new riding order something you think you'll stick with moving forward?
I think it's worth sticking with. Certainly short term. I'm not a big lover of changing all the time and swapping and changing, moving riders. I think they get comfortable at certain positions, and I just felt like it wasn't quite working to maximum effect the way it was. So it was interesting to see tonight. But there will be tougher tests. We know that. And we'll see how we fare then.
Obviously, you're a former rider yourself, so you know the mental preparations that go into each meeting before every race. Obviously, we've had a situation where it's been a green light start here tonight. I know it was the same for both sets of riders, but how does it affect preparations in the build-up to a race?
It's not ideal, is it? But there were 2 options tonight. We raced on a green light start, or we didn't race full stop, and we send a good crowd, healthy crowd home. Really disappointed. So there are rules to follow in the event of something like this happening. We followed them by the book, and a green light start is what's there to replace a start failure. So we've seen it at a higher level than this. We've seen it in Grand Prix. It's not completely unheard of. It's disappointing, and I feel like off the back of the disappointment with Ipswich, it's sort of it's not ideal. But let's just hope we've got rid of all our bad luck in the space of 2 meetings, and we can look forward to a busy spell coming forward.
So there's the Sheffield team manager Simon Stead chatting with Ryan Guest after their win against Peterborough last week. Looking ahead to the action coming up this week, a couple of fixtures coming up actually. Thursday, It's just the one, actually. Ipswich versus Sheffield on Thursday. So that's the next time out for Steady's men away at Vauxhall, where they had success the last time out earlier in the season. And then the next Premiership action is going to be on Monday, Bellevue versus Peterborough. And the featured match on Eurosport will be Wolverhampton versus Kings Lynn. Both of those getting underway at 7:30. Just a quick look at the league table as well. Ipswich Witches are currently top, 25 points from 12 matches ridden. Bellevue Aces are in second place with 12 matches and 23 points. Sheffield Tigers are third. They've also got 23 points, same as Bellevue, but they've ridden 2 matches less. So depending on what happens with those matches in hand, could transform how the league looks, with Sheffield just 2 points off the top spot with 2 matches in hand. Wolverhampton Wolves, they are on 12 matches ridden as well, 21 points for them. And then Kings Lynn have ridden 12 meetings and they're on 12 points. And Peterborough Panthers have ridden 12 meetings and they're on 10 points. So that's how things look in the league at the moment. And next up for our guest, Josh Pickering, is a trip to Monmore, taking on the Wolverhampton Wolves, and that'll be on the telly. Josh, you yourself have been on the telly a little bit more as well, because you've been doing some commentating on Eurosport, which is, I know, been a big hit with many fans. How did all that come about?
Yeah, it was cool, mate. Obviously, I done an interview the other week, and they sort of asked me, like, last year, where you were compared to this year now. Would have you believed that you're doing the things you're doing? And also, especially being on Eurosport commentating. And my response to that is that what I am doing physically on the motorbike in all the leagues I am doing, that actually isn't a shock to me, because it's something that I've manifested and known I've been able to do. So that side of thing definitely didn't really shock me too much, because I'm a bit happy that I'm actually achieving it. But definitely the Eurosport, that caught me by surprise. I didn't see that coming, and obviously the late Nigel Pearson, he when I spoke to him at the Bellevue Media Day after he'd done an interview with me, he goes to me, "Gosh, Josh," he goes, "you can talk, mate." And we had a bit of a laugh, and I said, "Yeah," and he goes, "You know what? I'd actually love to do a meeting with you one day, is you as me co-commentator." And I said, I think I'm a bit out of your league for that, mate. I said, you're way above me. And he goes, no, it would be good. I think you've got the right attitude and you've got the right words for the sport. And, and it was just very weird, mate, that obviously it was only a few days later he passed away. And then it felt like it was only 3 weeks after that I was getting a phone call off Steve Saint, who runs the Eurosport for the meetings, and he just said that he's spoken to Kelvin and this is what they want to do, and I was a rider that first come to mind and would I like to do it, and since doing that I've done it twice now, and again going into that, mate, I was nervous as all hell. Like I don't think I've ever been so nervous in my life, and it's such a big thing, and especially a sport that I've loved for so long, and now I'm sitting there giving my opinion on what either my fellow competitors are doing, and it's just, it's crazy. Like it was a bit surreal, obviously, but at the same time, it's pretty cool, and I definitely enjoyed it, and I look forward to doing it again one day soon. But obviously, the last 2 matches the last match at Bellevue I was in, and then this match at Wolverhampton I'm in as well. So I can't be doing 2 things at once, but I'm sure I will be there at some stage throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, on BSN we've talked about having a microphone on a rider, and Paul Bowen, who's one of our presenters on there, he's tried to commentate with a GoPro on his helmet in the past, and he just can't do it, and what he can do usually involves some swears, so it might be a bit dicey.
Well, I've actually like a few weeks ago I didn't realise that I must talk to myself when I do race. I didn't take note until I was at Scunthorpe the other week, and I was in a position where I didn't want to be in the race, and I said something quite loud going into a turn, and it actually scared me. I after I said it and then I was coming around the corner, I then realised that I actually said something out loud, and it definitely wouldn't be good for any BSN viewers, that's for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine, and fairly understandable. Before we end this section, let's hear from, I know a good mate of yours, Sam Masters. He's been struggling with his foot. This injury has had some treatment, and he's had the verdict. We'll find out exactly what the situation is right now, because Sam's been talking about that foot injury with Ryan Guest.
Well, Sam, obviously a frustrating week for you last week with your speedway action basically being limited. Went for an operation on the Wednesday and then were referred for a more specialist check-up on Friday. Just talk us through what the findings were from that.
Well, I hurt my foot, obviously, and then I'd done a few meetings without any x-rays, or I just tried to battle on, and the pain was just getting worse and worse. I felt like I was doing more damage, so I went and got a x-ray, and they told me that I got a broken bone in my foot, and I said, well, what can I do? He said, rest or operation, but you're going to be out for 6 weeks either way. And I thought, well, I can't do either of them, so I'm just going to have to cop it on the chin, really. So it's, riding through a bit of pain at the minute, but I've done it before, so I just got to battle on and get my head around it, really. Yeah,
like you say, 6 weeks was basically whether the operation went ahead or whether you were advised to rest and took that advice. Do you think it's the time of the season more than anything that has made you carry on racing? If it was a bit earlier, do you think you might have gone with one of those?
Yeah, 100%. I just said that just before to someone that it is the time of the season. You can't be sitting out, really, because the playoffs are only around the corner, and I don't want to be having some time off and then trying to be at full full capacity coming into the playoffs. So I've got to keep riding, and hopefully the pain slowly goes away and I'm raring to go and perfectly fit for the playoffs.
Yeah, from the team's point of view, from a Wolverhampton perspective in the Premiership, obviously they had that meeting at Kings Lynn last Thursday without you. With all the clubs in action as well, they had to run rider replacement, and it really does go to show just how much you bring to this team as well.
Yeah, they went there and they got a bit of a beating, but they only got beat pretty hard in the first half of the meet, and then after that it was pretty even. So I think they just got hurt at the start, and I could probably say they missed me. I would like to say they missed me, but maybe they didn't. You would never know unless I was there. So anyway, it would have been nice to get a point there, but we didn't. So we've got to keep battling on for the rest of the year and seal that playoff spot.
Yeah, you've got to keep doing that. Next Monday at Monmouth Green, Kings Lynn, in front of the Eurosport cameras. Obviously already done that once this season, picked up a relatively comfortable victory that night as well. But Kings Lynn were riding with some injured riders and some riders who were feeling under the weather on that occasion.
Yeah, that's it. It's Kings Lynn do have a really good team. I know they're sitting pretty low in the table, but it's going to be tough. It's a different time of the year since then, and a lot of their riders are on form, so it's going to be really hard. They've got some good guys that go good around Monmore as well, so it's going to be tough. Extra pressure on the telly, and but it'd be nice to get the same result if we can.
Yeah, there's Sam Masters chatting with Ryan Guest, and as we mentioned there, Eurosport Monday night for Wolves versus Kings Lynn. And Josh Pickering will be, of course, representing the Kings Lynn Stars, but in the Championship, the two of them are teammates at the Edinburgh Monarchs, and we're turning the spotlight firmly on the Championship in the next section, chatting all about life at Edinburgh. We'll also hear from the Glasgow team manager, Cammy Brown, Eric Riss of the Red Car Bears, Jai Etheridge, and Jonas Knudsen of the Berwick Bandits, all on the way in the next section of No Brakes, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast.
No Brakes, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome back. In this section, the spotlight is firmly on the Championship. A number of interviews to bring you. Cammy Brown, Eric Riss, Jai Etheridge, Jonas Knudsen, all on the way. And our special guest in this episode is Josh Pickering of the Edinburgh Monarchs. And, we'll start by talking about Edinburgh because things going pretty well, I think, for Edinburgh. You're, I think, just about within touching distance of being confirmed for the playoffs now, which must be great news to have at this stage of the season because the matches are running out. But I know after claiming a point at Leicester last weekend, which obviously we'll talk more about in just a bit, I'm sure, but after claiming that, John Campbell was saying that really probably thinks now you're in the zone of being able to just rely on your home meetings, and you should be fine if his plan all works out.
Yeah, look, Johnny's all over that stuff. He always has been. That side of things, we've just got to continue doing what we're doing. The younger boys, it's just, first year, Lassie coming into it as well as Jacob. They've just got to worry about improving every single match and just trying to up their score by 1 point every meeting. And if they can do that, then we'll all be in a very good position. Paco and Kai, big Pac man, he's an awesome rider when he gets going, and he always seems to win a race every meeting we go to. However, his inconsistency of either bike setup or the mental side of things lets him down at some stage throughout the night. But when he's on, mate, he's awesome. And also Kai, again, it's only his second year in the in British Speedway, so he's learning still, and he's doing everything right. He's a very good little rider, and he's going to have a good future in the sport as well. So he's doing his things, and we're all continuing to progress. And also Sarge, he's been around a long time now, and to have someone like him at reserve, obviously he's just come back from injury again. He had a crash last year in Glasgow and suffered a little bit, and then obviously had a long winter recovering, and then to get cleaned up at the start of the year at Edinburgh and do a couple of ribs, and I think he done something to his shoulder, back to square one in some sense, but he's been on the mend, and he's showing signs of what he can do. And then it's just for me and Sam to do what we're paid to do, I suppose. Like, we're there to win the races, and we're there to take the pressure off all the other boys. But as long as they can step it up a little bit and take a little bit of pressure off us, then we could potentially be the underdogs as well. Because you look at us going to Leicester the other day, we went there without Sam. We had Richard obviously step in, and he done a good job. I think he scored 11 or 11 plus 1 or something. But Sam, it's hard to replace a rider like him. He is the best in the league. He's one of the best in Britain at the moment. And in my opinion, he probably would have got them, like, nothing against Rich because he rode an awesome race, but the level that Sam's on at the moment, he probably would have got them other 4 points. And then if Sam would have got them 4, it's 4 that they wouldn't have got, and we would have won the match. So we've potentially would have beat the league topping Lions. So, and we've gone there and done that with 2 guys that's never even seen the place before. And Paco had a night where it wasn't his best. So it goes to show you what we are capable of. And I do honestly believe home and away on aggregate, we can beat anyone. So, I'm excited for Edinburgh, and I genuinely hope we continue doing this form what we are doing. And like, I've been with the club since 2017 now, and I'm yet to win any trophies. So it's definitely something that I'd love to do also.
Yeah, and they've got that little board, that little roll of honour, haven't they, just by the way in there for all the riders who have been involved in title-winning sides. It'd be great to get your name down in history, and that in the new stadium as well, perhaps, when that comes along next year, all being well.
Yes, definitely, mate. Gordon's worked tirelessly on that, and everyone else. I'm sure John and all the other directors would have had some involvement it's in some way, but Gordon, wholly and solely, he's put his heart and soul into it, and by the looks of things, it's starting to pay off. And out of anywhere in the league, facility-wise, Armidale hasn't, it's not a standout. You've gone to other stadiums before. If you went to Bellevue one night and stadium the following day, you would think, like, how are we doing the same sport with the same riders? However, the stadium of the community centre that they're looking at building for the upcoming season, that will only represent the type of people that's involved with that club, and having a facility built so beautifully done with a beautiful track, an awesome stadium, a great hospitality thing like that, and great pits. It would just really be nice and very deserving of all the people that is involved with Edinburgh, mate, because they are all awesome people. From the first time I've met them, when it's come down to the fans or even the promotion, all the directors, I've always got on with everyone. They're such lovely people, and it would be really nice to see them in a beautiful stadium like that.
It's great for Speedway in Scotland, of course, and I think everybody's excited to see Edinburgh in a new home that they can call their own and really kick on now for the future. With regards your near neighbours Glasgow, they've had a couple of interesting matches over the last week or so. Poole getting the better of Glasgow in a 51-39 win at Wimborne Road to keep their hopes alive of a top 2 championship finish. The Pirates conceding a 5-1 in Heat 1, but putting a strong performance thereafter to leave the Tigers scoreless from that meeting as far as the league points are concerned. And then on the Friday night, Glasgow thrashed Berwick 65-25 in the Championship Jubilee League on a night when everything went wrong for the Bandits. The visitors ended the night with 3 fit riders and 5 wrecked bikes after a series of crashes, the most serious of which affected Leon Flint. He suffered a damaged sciatica nerve and had some pain in his leg and his back after a Heat 12 crash, which has caused him to withdraw from the under-19 pairs in Riga last weekend. Craig Cook scored a paid maximum 12+3 for the Tigers. Benjamin Basso got 11+1 and a Heat 14 disqualification after a clash with the Bandits' Jonas Knudsen. We'll hear from Jonas Knudsen in a moment, but first of all, let's hear from the Glasgow Tigers team manager, Cammy Brown, speaking with Phil Lanning.
Cammy Brown, it's been an interesting couple of weeks for Glasgow. Obviously, at home you've run into great form and you got a good result at Birmingham. Obviously, the Paula match is what everyone will look at because it's the big guns. It was the repeat of the grand final. Do you take anything from that meeting? Is there a yardstick? Does it show you where you need to be or where you want to be?
It definitely shows us where we need to be. We come up a little bit short. A couple of our riders didn't perform on the night. No excuses, but Poole won fair and square, but the track wasn't a racing track as we know it here. So, we know the next time we go there, if it's in the playoffs, if we get Poole in the playoffs, I don't think we'll have as much problems the next time. And bear in mind, if it is in the playoffs, we'll be there, soon. Poole were at our track, quite a long time ago, and before we hit form at home. So I can see us give them a much better, match over 2 legs if it came to that. So, yeah.
A lot of expectation around Glasgow, always is.
Yep.
There's the Facena family took over at the end of 2014. There's been 3 grand finals, 3 defeats, which I'm sure you're delighted with me repeating. But do you feel the expectation of the club is too much, or do you feel that that's a driving force, or how do you feel?
It's a driving force for everyone at Glasgow, and I think we behind the scenes we're quite a professional club in comparison to some other clubs. But yeah, it's a driving force. It does add a bit of pressure. It adds a bit of pressure to me, but I'm used to it and I've done it for 4 years, Phil, so it's not something that I'm not used to. I absolutely love it. I still love the job, but I mean, it's all about getting the right group of riders at the start of the season, and something I feel strongly about, and I'm glad you're doing this interviews. The whole plan for us when we pick a 1 to 7 at the start of the season is injury free to finish the season with the same 1 to 7. We don't really want to switch and swap riders. We had to try something last season to try and make the playoffs, and in a way it succeeded and in a way it didn't. So
that was a little bit forced on you by Ulrich's injury.
It was, yes, it was. But this season, we're going to end the season with the same 7 riders by the looks of things, and that's what we want to do. And it'd be great to try and win something with the same 7 riders. If you look at the kind of the way that things happened, Leicester go to Oxford before Oxford strengthened. Leicester win at Oxford. We go to Oxford after the strengthened. We only get a point. So had we been the week before Leicester, we'd get 4 points in my mind. So it's a strange way. It's a strange sport we're in. Yep. How teams can strengthen all of a sudden after they've lost to your rivals, or we might have been lucky and gone there first before Leicester, but we didn't get that rub of the green. But we just have to, over a season, hope it balances itself out. And I still think if we make the final, we can give anyone over 2 legs a match that are in the top 6, anyone at all, and I'd be confident that we can come out on top. I fully believe that on our day, if everyone performs, we have the best 7, 1 to 7. It's not just about having the best top 3 heat leaders, it's having the best 1 to 7. It's the team that wins it. And you saw Leicester losing at home to Poole. I mean, there's similar kind of set-up teams, top heavy, 3 big heat leaders, and they destroy each other. We beat Leicester comfortably here at our place using a 1 to 7 system. maybe Leicester were a bit poor that night. We were very good. But that's what we have to try and aim for, Phil.
So, listen, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
There's Cammy Brown, the Glasgow Tigers team manager with Phil Lanning. Josh Pickering is our guest, of course, a member of the Edinburgh Monarchs side, and the two sides have great rivalry, but including Glasgow, but looking up above you at the moment in the Championship and how things are panning out at the top, it's looking like Edinburgh are going to be involved in the playoffs. Glasgow are already assured of being in that top six, of course. The Poole Pirates, the Leicester Lions, all these sides you could end up facing at some point in the playoff situation. So what's your thoughts about the upper reaches of the Premiership so far, based on what you've seen and what you've ridden against?
Yep, Poole are a strong outfit, mate, and they are very good at home. I feel if it come down to it, on aggregate, if we were to get Poole in the playoffs, I'd like that. That would be awesome, because we only got done by 8, I believe, at Poole, and I didn't have a night where I was, satisfied with. And as I said before, we've had 2 riders go there that's never seen the place before, and then for them to come up and we beat them the other night, I don't know, I think we might have beat them by 8, or it might have even been 10. I can't remember the final score, but I definitely feel if we reach them in the playoffs, then we could, we can beat them home and away, no problem. But everyone else, mate, like there is very strong sides within this league, and there's a lot of strong riders. But as you were saying about the 2 Scottish clubs having great stadiums, there's honestly not a derby like it. Like, obviously, I raced for Sheffield last year, and you've got Sheffield and Bellevue. They've got the War of the Roses, and that's obviously, quite cool and all that. But then you've got down the bottom, you've either got Ipswich and Kings Lynn, or Peterborough and Kings Lynn, like they're the local rivalries type thing. There's nothing that comes close to an Edinburgh versus Glasgow rivalry in the UK, in my opinion. Like the hype leading up to it, the fans are just so passionate, and they love it, mate. And honestly, like the stadium is just, it's electric when it's Glasgow versus Edinburgh, and I feel like that. On an individual point of view, it's a night that, Alec and John, they never really show much emotion. They don't really show anything. They say, "Oh, good ride, son," or "Oh, come on, we need to do this," and so on and so forth. But whenever we verse Glasgow, you can see it's personal. And after the match whenever we verse Glasgow last, I think me and Sam had a bit of a last heat decider type thing, and we ended up coming out on top, and we got a 5-1 in heat 13 and heat 15, and we ended up beating Glasgow. And me and Sam's gone to hug it out in the pits, and then John jumps in as well, and all 3 of us hug. And John's not a person that shows like emotion like that, so it just goes to show you how much it means to him. And seeing that, and all the other fans and like directors involved in it as well, like, it does really make me happy, mate, when we do beat them. Just, it's nothing against Glasgow for me, because again, Cammy, the team manager, is a great bloke. I get on with him well. The Facenas, they're great people. They do a lot for the sport. Like, that type of thing. For me, beating Glasgow, it's just like beating another team. However, on another point of view, us beating Glasgow, it means so much to our club. It then becomes more important for me. So, I love being a part of the Scottish Derbies.
Well, another of your local neighbours, Berwick, climbed off the bottom of the Championship with an impressive 50-40 win at Oxford. The Bandits needed to win to realistically keep their slim playoff hopes alive, and dominated at Cowley as they raced into a 14-point lead at the halfway stage. Chris Harris and recent recruit Jonas Knudsen leading the way with 13+1 hauls for the visitors. But they did lose Jai Etheridge with a hand injury in a Heat 10 fall. And then not long after that, on the Friday, as we already mentioned, they had an absolutely disastrous night, and Jonas Knudsen came unstuck. In fact, as a number of riders had a crash, including Chris Harris, also Leon Flint, as we already mentioned as well. Theo Piper also came to grief, but most of them were able to get up and carry on, but Leon Flint suffering some injury to a sciatica nerve, as we mentioned previously, but I think he's hoping to be riding in the under-19 final at Redcar on Thursday this week, so good luck to Leon for that. A couple of interviews then from the Berwick Bandits. First of all, let's hear from Jonas Knudsen, who has really taken to life in British Speedway. We mentioned him, I think, when he had his very first ride at Poole with Berwick a few weeks ago, but let's see how he's been getting on with life since then with Phil Lanning.
I mean, it's been a busy time for you. Have you managed to sort of stop still for a minute and go, hey, this is going okay, or how do you feel so far?
Yeah, I feel good. Of course, a lot of improvements need to be, can still be there. But at the moment I feel good, and it's new tracks every time, so when I get out of heat 1 or 2 in the front, it makes it a lot easier to learn the track, so that's what I'm trying to keep on doing.
Of course, your starting has been outstanding, which makes life a lot easier for you.
Yeah.
It's trickier at Glasgow tonight, obviously, they're very dialed in here. It was a difficult night for the whole team, and there was lots of crashes to the scene, but again, every racetrack you come to, you're gaining knowledge, but again, it's still been a great start for you. You must know deep down, hey, it's going okay. I'm doing all right. I'm winning races.
Yeah, of course. Would have been bad if I came over here and only scored 2 or 3 points.
Yeah.
So at the moment, it's going good. Of course, in the end of the season, I hope I can do a lot of 10+ scores. So.
Obviously, yeah.
But I find it a bit hard to find a good fast setup, because it is a fast setup fast track in Glasgow, and I just needed that last 5% tonight. I didn't really find it.
Of course, and you obviously come back. You've got Cardiff to come as well for the SGP2. Is that right?
Yeah.
So you've got some big meetings coming up as well. So life must be good. You've made a big jump. You've made a big step into the UK, and it's been a big year for you with SGP2 as well. So Jonas Knudsen's on the map now. He's on the world map, and people are talking about you. Must be a good feeling.
Yeah, it feels good, of course. But when you turn 22, you're basically by yourself again. You don't have that under 21 team around you all the time. So it's going to be tough after next year when I turn 22.
Okay. And the terrifying prospect for a British journalist and British Speedway is the fact that there's a lot of very good young Danish riders coming through. Have we got a new Danish domination on the way? Like we had the years of Nielsen, Gunnarsson, and your namesake Tommy Knudsen and Janno Pedersen. Are we going to be talking about Jonas Knudsen, Ben Basso in the future down the years?
Hopefully, that's why I still do it. I love this sport and I want to be on the top one day, but there's still a lot of time to go, and I need to improve my riding.
That was a typically professional Danish answer. Well done. Okay, thanks very much, Jonas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the Danish youth system is headed up by Erik Gundersen, and of course the national team run by Hans Nielsen, and with those two in your corner, success ain't going to be too far away. Josh Pickering, our guest. Josh, have you seen much of Jonas so far, or have you come up against him so far? I don't think you have yet, have you?
Touched on that. I haven't seen him ride. I have seen a couple of his scores. I watched a little bit of the BSN when Glasgow were at Poole. When Berwick were at Poole, and I did see a couple of his races, which was, he was quite impressive. But again, he's British Speedway in a whole. I feel like there's going to be more riders coming back every year, and I think Britain's going to be the, other than Poland, I think it's going to be the preferred league to race in. Obviously, eventually at some stage in my career, I would like to race in Sweden. However, me just racing in Britain is much more important to me. So I think, as you said, about the riders coming back, there's going to be new and old riders coming back for many years, I believe.
Yeah, and it is exciting to see these new talents as they come through. Let's hear from another young rising star of Speedway, who is with the Bellevue Aces, but also the Berwick Bandits. And we mentioned earlier he had a bit of a crash at Oxford. It was a simple-looking crash, but bashed up his hand a little bit. Jai Etheridge has been speaking about that and things in general with Phil Lanning as well.
I bet you're sick to death of seeing the word or the letters R next to your name in a programme, but here we are again, and a kind of innocuous-looking crash at Oxford, and you're on the sidelines.
Yeah, just got quite a swollen hand and everything. No breaks or anything, but probably just a couple of days off. But every time I have those little crashes and I just need a couple of days, and I'm really busy. So just see what it's like tomorrow morning and make a decision for that. And if I've got to miss tomorrow, I've got to do that. And then, back again on Friday.
You would have been delighted. I know you stayed on in the pits at Oxford on the BSN coverage. I saw you on that. So great result for the team, and both sides now you're riding for are coming to some form. So you want to get back because you want to get carried with that momentum, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. Bellevue atmosphere and everything now is unbelievable. We're just laughing, going to every meeting, having a good time and that. And then same as these boys, we know we've got to push for playoffs, and we have to pick up have away wins. Can't just rely on the rest of our home meetings. And to start that like that at Oxford the other night was unreal. So we're all pumped, and it was good to definitely come away with the 4 points.
So it's Jay Etheridge chatting with Phil Lanning. Hopefully this time he's not going to be out for too long, but a bit of a setback, isn't it? Especially as he's had a bit of time out earlier in this season and then got himself going on all fronts, both with Bellevue and with Berwick. And, you know, Speedway can change very, very quickly, but a setback as well for not just him, but for the clubs that he's involved with too.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, mate. It's like in Speedway, when it rains, it pours, either good or bad. Jai, obviously, as we were talking about before, about certain riders we'd always, not clash, but want to beat. There was times in our career where me and Jai were very good friends, and then there was times where we didn't really speak much, and we would have loved to beat each other just as much. But now that feud's gone, and again, he's just another competitor to me now, and I don't work myself up emotionally. It's just, we get on great and say hello and all that now, so that side's a lot easier. But it is a bit of a shame how injuries can play such an effect on riders. Like one of my good friends, Josh McDonald's riding for Oxford. He's done a bit the last couple of years. He was a little bit unfortunate when he signed for Workington. They then went under. He then come over and picked up with Sheffield throughout the year, and Damien and Mark since that, I think in 2019, they've been unbelievable to him, the Bateses, and they've treated him as if he was one of his own, and not only that, he's then come home to then sign for Poole, and then COVID hit, so then that was cancelled, and then they brought in the rule about the I can't really remember, but long story short, he's then got the drop from Poole and then didn't get his opportunity. And then last year, I can't remember who he picked up with, but this year he signed to Oxford, and he couldn't have went to a better club by the looks of things. Like the Courtneys that's involved in that, it's been a full house every week. I've heard nothing but great remarks from the track. That side of things is just awesome, and again, Josh, he started off, he had a bit of an injury in his first meeting, suffered a broken tibia in his ankle, and then was sidelined for 7 weeks, sort of come back, raced at Glasgow the other week in Aaron Summers' first meeting back. He dropped a chain in the last heat of the day for heat 14, whatever it was. Josh had nowhere to go, hits his bike, crashes, breaks another piece in his ankle, and again, he's done 3 meetings this year, and he's a rider that tries harder than anyone, mate. Like, on the dedication side of things, you wouldn't meet anyone that's, does it any better than him. He eats properly, he trains hard, he does everything he possibly can away from the sport. It's just piecing it together on the night is what's let him down. And if I had Chunk's drive to... I've always been a naturally fit person, and physically I've always been quite healthy and all that. So I've sort of had in my head at times that I don't need to train and this and that. But if I had Chunk's drive to do that and to eat all the right things and put in that effort, earlier in my career, I do all these things now, but earlier in my career, I wouldn't mind seeing where I potentially could be in this stage, but hopefully he can get healed up and continue racing his bike for years to come also, So as you said about Jai again, injury side of things, that he's not the only one, and he has done a bit of racing this year, and it is unfortunate, but there's also other people that's in a lot worse position, and unfortunately Chunk's one of them people, So Speedway's a very tough sport at times.
It absolutely is, and best wishes to Jai Etheridge, and hopefully he's back sooner than later, which certainly is the plan, but nothing broken on this occasion, just a bad bit of bruising, I think, for Jai in that crash last week at Oxford. Let's just give Redcar a mention because they roared into the Championship Knockout Cup semi-finals with an emphatic 56-34 win at Berwick on Saturday, with the Bears already leading by 12 points heading into the second leg. They put the tie beyond the Bandits by going 19-5 up on the night after just 4 races. Eric Riss, Casper Anderson and Charles Wright all hitting double figures for Redcar. Berwick, as we know, had a tough night the night before, but Ricky Wells got 10+2 for the injury-hit Berwick Bandits. Let's hear from one of the top scorers then for the Redcar Bears. Eric Riss is in conversation with Ryan Nassau.
Yeah, definitely fantastic. The whole team was performing. We all scored our points. I think we sealed the deal quite early. We had 3 5-1s in the first 4 races, so we got a good lead from the start. Obviously, we had quite a comfortable lead already coming here, but we went here and we wanted to win. So definitely a really good night.
As you said, we set the tone early. Are this team starting to click together now, because that's 3 good performances on the spin?
Yeah, I don't really know what happened, but I would say the last 2 or 3 weeks we really, I don't know, we're just having more fun, it seems like. Before that it was kind of a bit too serious in my opinion, and now it's just, obviously you're having fun when you're winning, but even just in front of the meetings, before the meetings, we're having a good laugh, we're all getting along really well. And I don't really know why that is, but yeah, it's been fun the last few meetings, and I think that's a big help when it comes to winning.
And last one, you were riding with Casper Anderson obviously most of the meeting.
Yeah.
It really helps when he's going like he is, because that helps you as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Casper, he's class around here. He loves the
and Heat 15
place
as well.
Yeah, he won Heat 15 in front of Harris. That was impressive. Casper's box office here. Yeah.
So there's Eric Riss speaking with Ryan Nassau after the Redcar Bears booked their place in the semi-finals of the Knockout Cup, a tournament, of course, that they won in 2019, and they're going to have to face up against the Edinburgh Monarchs at some point with a date yet to be decided. Josh Pickering is with us, and before you go, Josh, looking ahead to the week coming up for you, you've got a few meetings, a busy one with Edinburgh because you're facing Berwick home and away, and of course Kings Lynn will be in action next Monday, as we know, at Wolves as well. But how's the rest of your week looking?
Yep, so I'm doing a guest booking tomorrow night at Birmingham also. So I'm racing for Birmingham tomorrow night. I then have Thursday off. I'm with Friday Edinburgh, Saturday Berwick. Sunday I was meant to be in Poland, but they've changed the team around a little bit. So myself and Sam will be sitting that one out. Monday, be back at Wolves. Wednesday, I'm doing a guest booking for Plymouth at Oxford. Friday I'm at Edinburgh, and then Sunday I'm at Glasgow. So we've got the Scottish Derby at the end of the month, and that rounds it up for 20 meetings this month for me. So it has been a very busy time.
Wow, but a fruitful one. Make hay while the sun shines, I think the saying is.
Yep, exactly right, mate. And today's really my only day off. Last week things were a little bit tough, and it was just felt like at times the week was never going to end. And then obviously what we done over the weekend, and I raced Friday. I had Friday off, but on Thursday night I snapped the chain in the 4th ride at Kings Lynn, and I ended up bending my bike. So on Friday I spent like 11 hours, mate, from washing 2 bikes, because I had to ride my second bike then, and and then stripping my bike down, drive an hour and a half, get the thing straightened, drive an hour and a half back, build everything back up, get everything ready. You know, it was 9 a.m. I got in the workshop and I left at 9 p.m. And then I raced Leicester Saturday and then straight down to Luton. Flew out early Sunday morning, raced pole on Sunday, didn't get much sleep again Sunday night, flew back Monday morning early, got back to the workshop at 10 a.m. yesterday, went and washed my bike that I raced at Leicester on the Saturday night, and then come home for a 2.5 hour nap to go and race Wolves last night. So this morning I had a bit of a sleep in, had some breakfast, just went out for lunch with my wife and Sam and Tegan and their little son Lenny. So now I'm come back, talk to you, and then as soon as we're finished here, I'm going to go and wash the bike because the weather would have cooled off a little bit. And then again on tomorrow night, Birmingham, we start again.
Hashtag Speedway Life, as they call it. Let's have a look at the fixtures coming up then, and you've touched on a few that you're involved in, starting with Birmingham versus Oxford in the Jubilee League at 7:30 at Perry Bar. Poole versus Scunthorpe in the Championship, and Oxford versus Leicester in the National League. On Thursday at Redcar, it's the British Under-19 Championships. The individual tournament there starts at 7:30 at the Echo Arena, and then in the Premiership, it's Ipswich versus Sheffield. Friday, you're back in action again. Edinburgh versus Berwick in the Jubilee League in the Scottish section, and in the Northern section of the Jubilee League, it's Scunthorpe versus Leicester, and you can watch that one on the British Speedway Network this Friday from 7:30. Then on Saturday, the return of the fixture between Edinburgh and Berwick back at Shieldfield Park at 6:30, and then they've got a National League Knockout Cup semi-final, Berwick Bullets against the Leicester Cubs at 8 o'clock after that Championship Jubilee fixture. And then on Sunday, Leicester versus Berwick in the Championship at 6 at the Paul Chapman and Sons Arena, and then a couple of fixtures in the National League on Sunday. Kent versus Oxford, Mildenhall versus Bellevue. Monday, Bellevue versus Peterborough, and Wolverhampton versus Kings Lynn in the Premiership. And of course that latter one is going to be the featured match on Eurosport 2, 7:30 the start time for that. And then on Tuesday, back at the Coliseum, as they call it, it's Plymouth versus Oxford in the Jubilee League Southern section as well. And that takes you over the next week or so. And then we'll also be moving into the Speedway of Nations next week as well. That gets underway next Wednesday, July 27th. We'll be talking more about that on next week's episode. Thanks, Josh Pickering, for joining us, and good luck with your matches coming up, and hopefully you can get away from Wolves quicker than I did with the roadworks that were going on and all the main roads were shut. It took me forever to get to the M6. But anyway, have a good one, and we look forward to seeing you on Eurosport.
Yeah, well, for me, it was very easy because it took me 6 minutes to get home, and it was good for me once, but usually, mate, I know all about it, and last Thursday was the first night I've actually been home after Kings Lynn, like this year. I think I've raced every Thursday, whether it be Ipswich or Kings Lynn or whatever like that. But last Thursday night was the first night that I've got to go home on Thursday after a race meeting, because usually I drive straight up to Edinburgh and get there at 4 a.m. So that was nice that it happened. And realistically, considering that I bent my bike and it wasn't very good, and obviously Friday I had all day to prepare it. If I had to race Edinburgh Friday, Leicester Saturday, and then Poland Sunday, and then Wolverhampton Monday, I just would have been washing 2 bikes this morning. I would have been running ragged to get everything straight, and that I've would have done the other day, and I wouldn't be talking to you now because I'd have to be getting everything sorted for tomorrow. So I was sort of happy it happened when it happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here's to a nice straightforward week, and thanks for joining us on this episode of the podcast. I'm sure everybody's enjoyed hearing what you've had to say, and we'll see you soon on the track, and no doubt hear you soon on Eurosport at some point as well. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, mate. Thanks very much.
Kings Lynn captain and Edinburgh Monarchs star and all-round exciting racer Josh Pickering, our guest on this week's episode of No Brakes, No Fear. I think that's about it for this week. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll be back with you next week with a look back at the few fixtures that are happening in the Premiership and some stuff happening across the Championship over the coming days as well. So we'll be at a few of those and bring you some interviews. And of course, we'll be looking ahead to the Speedway of Nations and the British final, because our episode next week will be the last episode before the British final gets underway. So we're working on that now, and we're bringing you that next week, and it'll be available next Wednesday is the plan. Have a great week in Speedway wherever you're heading. I know the weather's been pretty warm the last few days. I think it's going to return to normal levels, but you've heard some fairly decent matches are taking place over the course of this week up and down the country. Go along and support your local side. And don't forget to check out our previous episodes of our podcast as well. Some great episodes and some great guests that we've had over the course of this season. Just look back through them on your app of choice, whichever you use. And we'll be back with you next Wednesday, as I say, for the next episode of No Brakes, No Fear. Have a great week.
No Brakes, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Sports Social Podcast Network.